Hey, Women of Hope, welcome once again to the Summer Conversation Series. My conversation today is with Amber Robinson, and Amber, along with her husband Tyler, are the owners of Krave Gym in West Des Moines and Waukee, which is where I go to sweat and generally do hard things. But Tyler and Amber are part of the Hope community, and they've got two kiddos, and their oldest son, Pierce, also has Down syndrome. And so I really think that this conversation has a little something for everyone about being an entrepreneur, about doing difficult things, about mindset, and then also about what it is like to have a kiddo with special needs and then to have another kiddo as well. And so I really hope you will enjoy this conversation, share it with someone who you think might benefit from it, and I think you're going to enjoy getting to know Amber a little bit. So with that, I will head right into the video. Thanks for joining us today, and have a great week. Well, hello, Amber. How are you today?
I'm good, Amanda. How are you?
I'm doing so well. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You bet. So this is our summer conversation series here for Women of Hope. And as I kind of told you a little bit, the idea behind this series is that each one of us has been made by God to matter in a way that no one else does. And I know you through Krave Gym, which we'll get to in just a second. But would you just introduce yourself a little bit and tell everybody a little bit about you?
Yeah, so my name's Amber Robinson. I'm originally from Nebraska. Got my master's degree in kinesiology in South Dakota, and then my husband and I relocated to Iowa after that. So I always laugh and just tell people I love the Midwest so much. I just have to hit all those states. So definitely a Midwest girl by heart. My husband and I, we have two children, a 3.5-year-old, a 1.5-year-old. We own a gym business, which keeps us very busy, but we're blessed to do what we get to do every day. Yeah. I don't know. I think that's about it.
Okay. All right. Good deal. So like I said, you own Krave Gym, and that's how I ended up meeting you, because I stumbled in one day, and that was several years ago. I don't know. I think Pierce was a baby.
Maybe. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, yep. I think you had just come back from maternity leave, actually, come to think of it. And then, so I met you guys that way. And then, do you remember that I baptized Pierce?
We do,
yes. And
yep. Because we said when we left, we were like, oh my gosh, that's Amanda from the gym. So yeah, yes. We do remember that, which is so cool.
That was so funny. I know, right? That was really great. And I had only been going there for a little bit. And so that was just the way I think God was kind of moving things together. And so that was really cool. Yeah.
Really cool. Yep.
Yeah. Well, so I'm really curious. Because I went to Krave for a while, and then I left for a while, and then I came back and whatever. But one of the things that just really impresses me about you and Tyler and the coaches there and all of you is here's the thing. When I'm in a class, I probably bring up the average age a little bit, right? And I probably bring down the fitness level a little bit, average wise, but I have never, ever once felt like I didn't belong there. And so I feel like that's because you guys are probably pretty intentional in the way that you do things. And when we're talking about this idea that each of us has been made to matter in a way that no one else does, a culture that is built on accident, you can certainly tell. And so I feel like you guys have built yours on purpose. And so I wanted to give you a little bit of a chance to talk about that.
Yeah, I love that. And I appreciate that, because that's really something that we strive for. And just like you said, we all have different abilities, right? We have people who have been in the gym with us since we opened our doors 5 years ago. And we have people who they start and then they stop and they start, but they're always welcome back. We always have open arms and say, life was different for you back then, but who's to say now it's not going to be, and it's going to be a little bit different, but now you're ready to get back at it. And so when people walk through those doors, we really want them to feel comfortable, because I always think, had I not had any fitness knowledge or any background in health and science and fitness, it would be an intimidating environment to come in and not know what you're doing. And our ultimate purpose has been to help people understand that we're all athletes, right? Maybe you didn't grow up an athlete playing competitive sports, but you are an athlete being a mom because you want to be the best version of yourself. You're an athlete at the church because you want to show up every day and provide people with what they need and give the best version of yourself every day. And so I think sometimes, you know, marketing can come off as intimidating, or when you do see younger people come in who are the ex-athletes, you know, they like that balance though. They like to be pushed and do the athletic things, but they also know that there's a mindset that comes with it of just being the best version of yourself. And I think, you know, we're really, when we have interviews with coaches, we always want them to be on the same page as us. You know, this is a non-intimidating environment. You're not judging anybody. Everybody's there for their own reasons. Everybody's there to get healthier. You know, it's not always about, you know, what you look like on the outside. It more comes from way more of who you are on the inside. And that's really what we try to bring out in people, is that best version of themselves. And so our coaches, you know, I think that luckily they've been awesome. I mean, because they do set the culture and the precedent as well as us, but it's just been such an environment that, you know, even our athletes, you guys are a big part of keeping that community together, because, you know, if you go to a gym and you feel welcome and you say hi to people and you're a friendly face, you know, that's what sets the culture for that entire session and that gym environment. And so we've gotten lucky just having, you know, not lucky, I would say, but just having awesome people walk into our doors. So
for sure. I did on part of the summer conversation series, I did one a couple weeks ago where I was talking to myself, and but it was about body image, because I just had this sense that, like, as we were coming out of, you know, this quarantine and this social distancing season, and we couldn't go do any of the things that we wanted to do, right? And that would include going to the gym. And we went into this season in sweatshirts, and, you know, it was cold, basically. And then as we were coming out of this season, you know, it was going to be into spring and into summer, right? And I just felt, I knew that when you make the transition from wearing yoga pants to wearing hard pants, which is what I call any pants with a button, they're hard pants, right?
100%.
But when you go from yoga pants to hard pants, that can be a tough transition, and especially more so with the season that we were in. And so anyway, so I did this whole thing on body image. That's a really long way of telling that story. But then in a follow-up on that, one of the questions that I received from people was, how do you balance, like, trying to deal with your own body image stuff, and then also, like, work, you know, a healthy movement into that. And I know what my thoughts are on that, but I would really just kind of like to hear your perspective on that from someone who obviously values movement.
Right. So, you know, I don't think I learned this because, so kind of a long story short, I used to do bodybuilding shows or like bikini competitions back in the day. And I thought that defined me and who I was. Right. And that's before kind of I had kids and realized that there's more to life than that. But that was a big part of me at one time in my life. And so I like talking about it because the funny thing about that is that you're judged off of one day of what you look like on stage in a little bikini, you know, and that was a wake up call to me to help me realize that I'm made for more than just that. Like, I'm more of just what my appearance is on the outside, you know? And I think for women especially, it's so hard to live up to this hype that we have to be a certain size, we have to look a certain way, you know? And I think a lot of it stems from social media, unfortunately, because you see the highlight reel of a lot of people's lives, you know, it's not the real. And there's a lot of people that do suffer from body image and everything like that, but it's all about the mindset and working your mindset and developing a way that you look at your body like you might not fit into your jeans right now, but you can't go back. Like, you have to just start moving forward. You know, we always want to say, oh, I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have done that, but that's not doing anything for you except bringing you back down. You know, in that moment, you got to make a change and say, okay, I'm going to just start moving forward. It's just going to get better from here. We're not going to go backwards, you know? And so that begins with movement of the body, you know, because when you start working out and exercising, then your nutrition starts to fall into place. Then even after a couple weeks, you start to feel better. You start to feel more confident. Your pants start to feel better. And they might not fit better, but you feel better in your pants. So that's a mental mindset of like, you're doing something good for yourself, you know? And I get that people are busy and I know life gets busy, but being in the health and fitness industry, it's like this, the mental part of health and fitness is huge, you know? And that broke my heart with COVID when we had to shut down. And I know how many people, they need this like fitness and exercise mentally because it helps with your mental health. And so I hated that we couldn't just have people in here to keep working on that. But my biggest thing is just work on your mind first and give yourselves compliments every single day. Like, be thankful that you woke up healthy. You didn't have any issues. That there's terrible things that people are dealing with in the world right now. So try to think of every positive. Try to do a gratitude journal where you write down 5 things you're healthy for. Like, if you're a mom, your body made those babies, just try to pull things from inside of you that can really help you kind of get out of that rut, and then just start moving. And then from there, start worrying about your nutrition and supplementing your body with healthy foods, because that'll help with everything too.
Yeah. I love what you said about complimenting yourself, because especially if you're the kind of person where words of affirmation are a way that you give and receive love, the truth of the matter is you have to do that for yourself first, 100%, right? Because probably, I don't know, someone else can even say, I'm proud of you. And that can be really awesome. But if you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm proud of you because you tried today, that is huge.
Yeah. It's huge, and it's awkward at first, right? Like, we don't like to give, we can tear ourselves down so easy. Like, we don't love to give ourselves compliments of the things that we do, because we feel like, we put ourselves on a pedestal. But it's okay to do that. It's okay to give yourself daily affirmations that you are amazing, and you're smart, and you're kind, and you're beautiful, and all those things. So, and that's, like I said, it takes time, right? And that's something I learned with, I think, after having kids and my son, which we'll get to talk to you about in a little bit. But it's just kind of changed my whole perspective of, it's not always about what's on the outside. It's always on the inside. That makes you the bigger person and just who you are.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And I like to tell people too, if they're struggling with body image and all of the kind of stuff that goes with that, because I've been the person on the treadmill counting down Thin Mints, you know what I mean? Like, I've been there. That's a really crappy way to live. And so finding joy in just letting your body do what it was made to do. That starts. And so, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. And I love, there's this fine line of social media and how it's getting to be too much, right? But what I do love about this kind of season we're in life is that the podcasts that are out there have helped me so much as an entrepreneur, as a mom. Every time I'm feeling like I'm down on something, I can find a reliable podcast that kind of gives me ideas on how to change myself, because there's people who have been through things we've been through, right? I went through that body image thing for a little bit, but there's people that might have done it longer, and now they're doing a podcast on what helped them get over that. And so what I see a lot of times is, we can sit here and we can be down on ourselves and we can complain, but you have to take action to doing something if you're really not happy in your life too, so find the inner motivation to really make yourself better in whatever area you're struggling in. And I find that podcast, if you go for a walk one day and you listen to a podcast and you can take some of that feedback from that and just apply it to your life, like it really is life-changing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of the reason why we're doing this conversation too, is because I meet women all of the time who, when I say to them that each one of us has been made to matter by God in a way that no one else does, this is like completely foreign information to them, or even if they should know it in their head, like to believe that it's true for them can be very difficult. And so that's kind of, that's why I'm trying to talk specifically to people in our local community so that it's not like, oh, somebody out there who's done this thing, that person knows how they matter. But what about just me here in the middle of Iowa?
Yeah, I love it. This is such a cool thing that you're doing. I love it.
So, and is there anything else you want to say about being an entrepreneur and what that has been like in this season? Have you had days where you were like, what are we even doing? Or not? Or have you always been like steadfast?
Luckily, I think when we got into this whole entrepreneur thing, your days look like this. Like, there's no like steady state of, what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, right? And
Did you guys always know that you were going to be entrepreneurs? Did you always know that from the beginning, or was it a weird path for you?
For me, I personally didn't. I grew up, with a single mom who was amazing. I think she raised me wonderful. But I always thought, she had a job where she worked her butt off and just to supply, stuff for me and for my brother. And so she would go to work and then she'd have another part-time job where she would go work for someone. And so, I honestly just thought that was normal, and that's what I was going to do with my life. And then I actually started school. I got into a nursing program, was 1 year in, started my clinicals, and realized that nursing wasn't for me. Like, I loved helping people, but not in that way. You know, I don't think there's a lot that goes into nursing, and shout out to those nurses out there because it's high demand. It's a lot of paperwork, you know, I mean, they're amazing, but it just wasn't for me. And I didn't know how else I was gonna be able to help people. And so I talked to my advisor and he said, well, you do have the most credits towards exercise science. And so you could go that route. And I played college volleyball. So I was like, oh, maybe I want to be a volleyball coach, you know, maybe I'll go that route. And so I was the graduate assistant for them for one season, loved it. But realized how much they would be on the road, how much, you know, time you have to spend recruiting, you know, and there was a lot that goes, and I'm not a lazy person. I feel like I'm like, oh, that's too much work. No, it was just not me, right? Not me, not what I wanted to do and not what filled my cup up. And so, thankfully at the time I met my husband who was in his last year of getting his master's in kinesiology. And he's like, why don't you look into exercise science and maybe like strength and conditioning or being a personal trainer or something like that. I'm like, all right, yeah, that's cool. Cause I can help people and help them live a healthy lifestyle and still have that balance. And so we finished that. And then it's all about God's timing, right? Because had this not happened, we wouldn't be where we were. So then I was a graduate assistant at the wellness program. So I was finishing up my last year, and the CEO of Tiger Rock Martial Arts came to our wellness center and he said, he was working with another business development department at the same time. He said, I would like to put this program into the wellness center and can you teach it? And we'll see if there's a high demand, because what they found out at Tiger Rock is people are dropping their kids off at Tiger Rock, like the parents, and then they're leaving. So they wanted to up the adult memberships and say, hey, you know, Taekwondo is for you too. Martial arts is for you. And so they wanted to impact more families and have more family memberships. So they're like, well, if we do a strength and conditioning type program in Tiger Rock, maybe that'll get our membership base up higher. So I taught the class. It was striking, strength, agility, endurance, and core. So we did all those areas, very similar to what we do at Krave now. Mm-hmm. And it was awesome. Like the feedback was great. People loved it. It was one of the busiest classes that we had at the wellness center. And so I relayed the feedback to him. You know, we'd have monthly meetings. And then one time Tyler came with me, my husband, and he goes, well, what do you guys want to do? And we're like, well, we want to own our own gym, but we're finishing our last year of college. Like we're broke. We don't know where to start. We have no mentorship. You know, we don't really know. He's like, well, why don't we do this together? And so, I mean, it doesn't even work out better than that. You know what I mean? And so he kind of took us under his wing. We moved to Sioux City, Iowa shortly after we graduated. And then we started developing and designing Krave Gym. And so that was with, Tyler was working the Tiger Rock stuff, and I was still teaching that class to the moms and the adults in Sioux City. And so it was a ton of fun. So then we did demographic research, and then we found out that Des Moines is just an awesome community of young entrepreneurs, of very successful people, great community, just of people who love to be active and stuff like that. And so we looked at Colorado and here, and then we found here and just, you know, found home. So we're so thankful to be in Des Moines. But
I love it.
So sorry, now I don't even remember the question you asked.
But I loved hearing about all that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so God's timing is great.
Yeah.
I tell you what, like it wouldn't have, otherwise I look back and I'm like, what would we have done? You know, would we ever have taken that chance to be like, let's be entrepreneurs? Or was it kind of like, you guys got to be entrepreneurs, this is it, you know? But we're like, my biggest fear was going to a bigger gym or some gym where I didn't feel like people should train that way. And I'm only there for a paycheck and I don't really feel like people should be doing this. You know, I think that would be so hard to work in that environment where, and now at Krave, like we design our own programs. We know it's the best for people out there. We, you know, and we can kind of have some control over how we impact people in a greater capacity, you know? Yeah.
Yep, I love it. What have you learned through this season of COVID and all this baloney?
Yeah, and so like I said, I think entrepreneurship is just up and down. You have your constant ebbs and flows. And you know, one thing that I'm blessed for is my husband, who keeps me level-headed, because I can be a mess some days. I'm like, this isn't gonna work, this isn't. And he's like, yes, it is. Like, there's other businesses out there who are going through this, you know, with us. And so thankfully, you know, with all the PPP loan and stuff like that, we got to pay our employees and everything. Because, you know, as an entrepreneur, now you're supporting some other people. And granted, a lot of our coaches don't have full-time positions. So it's not, you know, they're part-time, but still, you know, they're making money to pay their bills and everything. And so as an entrepreneur, you have to kind of think about those too. And it's like, all right, we still got to want to pay our employees and stuff. And so we did get that, thankfully. But I mean, that's really, we just took it month to month. I think I kind of look back and I'm like, wow, that time did fly. Like when you're in it, you feel like it's just so slow because you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. But then looking back, you're like, okay, that went fast. We could do some behind the scenes stuff to make our programs better, and to make our coaches better and stuff like that. And so I think it was just, a learning experience, but we tried to stay positive. And, every night I read a word from God, and I'm like, a lot of that is you're in the right season. He's going to bring you through this. And it just kept reminding me that he has control over all this and that he has the greater plan, and it's all going to work out how it's supposed to. And so I just try to remember that and just stay positive, because the more negative we are about situations, the harder it makes it on yourself and your family and everything like that. So you just got to be positive and kind of roll with the punches as they come and just pray that, it's all going to work out how it's supposed to.
Yeah. Yep. That's great. So let's shift gears a little bit. And I'm really excited to talk about your family and your two kiddos, Pierce and Ivy. They are just so delightful. And Pierce has Down syndrome.
Yep.
And so that was probably not on your radar when you decided that you were ready to start a family.
No, absolutely not. So first he was kind of not an oops, so, like, okay, well, now we're pregnant, so now we gotta.
Okay, all right, yeah.
No,
I have a couple of those actually.
But it's like, we gotta figure this out now. Here we go. So yes, that was the first surprise. And then all throughout my pregnancy, everything checked out great. No signs of Down syndrome or anything. I was oblivious to Down syndrome, always never a person that would, be out in public and see someone with Down syndrome and think differently of them, always just accepting and everything, but never really hung out with anyone with Down syndrome because no one in our families had it. Didn't associate with the community of people in the Down syndrome community, just because we didn't know there was volunteer opportunities out there and stuff like that. And so we just really weren't, they always had a soft spot in my heart because they're the sweetest people. But yeah, just never thought of it. And then, so Pierce was born. And then it was this mother instinct thing where you're just like, the weirdest thing, and Tyler can attest to this, that it was like, I looked at him and the moment, how babies already look kind of weird, they've been in the womb for how long? They do. They just look kind of,
Yeah.
And so I looked at him and right away I said, he has Down syndrome, not even like, and I kind of like, it makes me sad thinking about this. It was still one of the best moments of my life, but I instantly thought of that, not, I don't know, I just had a baby, So I think the fear kicked in first before I could really celebrate, if that makes sense. Like, and he just wanted to know right then if he did, and it was going to be okay if he did. But, so I looked at him, was like, he has Down syndrome. My husband was up here, so I looked at him, I'm like, does he have Down syndrome? And, the doctor's right there, the nurses, and he's like, stop, he doesn't have Down syndrome. I'm like, okay. So then Pierce and Dad went to the back, he cut his umbilical cord, and like, just all these emotions were going through my head, and I was like, what just happened? And your hormones are already crazy. So and so I had him at like 11:59 at night. So we got to snuggle him all night, and of course you're looking at him wondering, researching, doing all the things. And then at 6 a.m, the pediatric doctor came in and he's like, hey, I don't know if you guys saw, but Pierce is showing some signs of Down syndrome. So one of them was like on their hands, they have it's flat across on their hands. They don't have like that fold is straight across. His ears sit lower. These were just some of the signs that I'm like, okay, I guess, yeah. He has a kind of like a little button nose. What else is he showing? I don't know. I think that was about it for him. But, so they took him back and then they said, we're going to draw blood and do some testing. And then those results won't come back for 7 days. So your doctor will get a hold of you and in 7 days you will know. And we're kind of like, oh my gosh. 7 days.
Yeah. It's enough to be there with a newborn, period.
Yes,
right?
100%. Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, your first one too. I'm not saying the second, third, or fourth would be easier, but this is our first one.
Yep.
People know we had this baby, and now, we, as bad as it sounds, like we were not grieving. It's just your emotions are all over the place. You don't really know how to feel like. And if I would talk to anybody, I would just instantly start crying, because I didn't know what his life was going to be like. I didn't know if he was healthy, if he was going to be able to walk, talk. Like, I didn't know him, and so we didn't have any visitors up to the room just because we were trying to process everything. And we kind of wanted to know before we would just talk to people about it, I guess. We wanted to kind of know our facts almost. I don't know what it was, but so yeah, we were in the room just crying and holding him and loving on him. And then we got sent home. And then that 5 days later, yeah, we went to his doctor's appointment. She's like, yeah, he does have Down syndrome. So, I don't know, from there, like we're not the type of people, like I said before, we're not going to sit there and just let us get down on ourselves, right? I knew that God gave me Pierce for a reason. I knew it 100% from the day that we finally got the diagnosis. I'm like, there's something that he's doing. There's something he's teaching me or someone else. Like, what can I do to help other people who might be going through this? Because what I wish is that I would have been more knowledgeable on kids with Down syndrome. You know, and thankful for social media now. He has a social media page, which is probably too much, but the messages that I get that say, thank you for helping me understand what we're about to go through, or thank you for sharing your story because now this is so much easier for me. I feel like God gave me that opportunity to be able to do that for others, because had I not, then they wouldn't know, you know. And as sad as it seems, some people might abort a child with Down syndrome because they don't feel like they're going to be able to carry on their life or whatever. And I feel like, you know, God's given us him to help save some lives, you know, these amazing humans that wouldn't be around if it wasn't for him, you know. And so we just didn't let it get us down. We're like, all right, we either got to roll with this or we can sit and grieve and think about this child that we thought we were going to have. Like, and now he's better than what we could have ever imagined, you know? And so we just said, all right, let's make the best of this. Let's give him the best life and just do everything that we have control over. Let's just do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you look at pictures of him, he either is smiling or he has this look on his face like he really is just kind of, well, first of all, even if it's not a smile, it's a look of joy on his face,
Yep.
but just of just contentment, no matter, even if, I don't know, every picture that you look at of him, it's either joy or he's thinking about maybe being a little bit ornery, but even that's cute too.
Yes, it's a problem. It's a very big problem we have at our house. No, and I love that you feel that because, you know, as his mom, I'm like, do I just feel this way? But, you know, it's good hearing that you feel like he brings joy too, because he really does. He is the easiest kid ever. And so we stayed at the in-laws last night and they got him this new toddler bed. And so they have like the things on the side, but in the middle it's open. And so I text my mother-in-law this morning and I go, how did he sleep? And she goes, well, he fell out of bed twice, but he didn't wake up. Like, that's him. Like, he just is like, let's just go with it, guys. Let's just.
So he's just sleeping he falls out, he's sleeping on the floor.
No, she slept in there on a different bed because this was the first night, so she wanted to make sure. So she put pillows down. It's like this high off the ground, so not
I
very
wasn't
high.
Worried. I really wasn't worried.
No, yeah. No, I know. Some people would be like, oh, he just So she did put pillows, and so she must have heard him. But then he would just sleep on those pillows on the ground and not wake up. Like, that is him. He's just like, all right, we're going to go here. We're going to do this. We're going to go there. Like, just, and he does. He just brings joy to a lot of people around him. Like,
yeah.
You know, but I mean, I tell Tyler, and I think a lot of the Down syndrome moms can attest to this, like right now with the whole people becoming just more, you know, open to disabilities and everything that we're going through right now, like it's a great time to have a kid with Down syndrome because people are so much more accepting of people as they are, you know, and had this been, who knows, even 30 years ago or whatever, where they were just locking these kids in rooms and letting them be, like, that's just, it breaks my heart to think about that. But now, I mean, with Special Olympics Iowa and Gigi's Playhouse, you know, all those programs that we have, like, they're just like another kid, you know, and that's how we treat Pierce. We don't give him special, I don't not yell at him when he's ornery because he has Down syndrome. Like,
right.
He's gonna be treated just like his siblings and do those things, you know, that everything that we can make him do, so.
Yeah. And you said he's been part of Hope Kids here at Hope when we were able to do that, and he's had a helper with that. Yeah.
He had a helper with that. Amazing program. I was counting down the days till he turned 3. And then he turns 3 right in November, so it's kind of at the end, and it's flu, and so we are cautious about that just because with Down syndrome, you know, their immune systems are already kind of low. So we try to be cautious about all that stuff, and so we were scared, you know, if he had a runny nose or anything, we'd just keep him home and we'd watch service online and stuff like that. And so, which is an awesome thing that we're able to do. Or we would just take him with us and have him, you know, on our lap or whatever. But now that we could start going, and he wasn't going to daycare, he was home with me a lot of the time. So I was kind of worried about that anxiety, separation stuff. But then once he started preschool, that was fine. And then he would go to church. And it was so funny because, like, when we were up in service and he was down there, I'm like, oh, I wish he was here right now. I wish he was here. But then when he'd be up with us, I'm like, I wish you were down there. I wish you were down there. So there's no winning. It's like,
No, that's parenthood. Basically,
Yeah.
you cannot win. You
but he
cannot.
loved
No.
it. And yeah, we would come down there and everyone was so helpful and oh my gosh, amazing.
That's cool.
So we can't wait to get back at it for sure.
I know. Yeah, I know. So what was that like then? Did you guys decide, okay, it's time to have another child, or what did that look like for you guys? Was that
so with Ivy, I think we tried for about 7 months with her because we wanted the kids close because I just thought it would help push Pierce a little bit. Although there's always that scarcity of like, oh, he's not my baby anymore, but we knew a sibling would be good to help him grow and, all the other things. Now I don't know, but because he's like, he's so funny. He's a funny kid, but no, it's awesome. And so yeah, Ivy, we and that pregnancy is scary the second time around, and I can't even speak on this. I feel like because we just had a Down syndrome family who was pregnant, and then they had just another terrifying birth experience, and I'm just like, I talked to her about it a lot because pray for them because they found out they're pregnant again. So I hope that it goes smoothly for them. But it's scary because you think of all those emotions that came back. You don't know what a healthy pregnancy is like. And granted, he's healthy, so I can't say that. But it's different. So we, every ultrasound we'd go to, we were just more aware and more cautious of, if we got some news that we weren't expecting and things like that. But it was a great pregnancy. Everything checked out. And they did do more testing. They wanted to do the Down syndrome test, like, and a lot of people ask, is your chances higher of having another child with Down syndrome if you had one? And it's not. Like, it's just a chance that you get. And so it's not hereditary or anything like that. So, but they wanted to do the Down syndrome test just because Cass has said that we've had a child with Down syndrome. And so we were okay with that. We did a blood test at like 9 weeks. And so then, of course, you can find out the gender. They're like, do you want to know the gender? I'm like, yes. So then we got that, which was exciting. And so, yeah, so they came back, no Down syndrome, everything looked healthy, and then the gender. And then, so I think that was a sign of reassurance right there. It was like, okay, now we just got to pray for everything else because you never know what can happen.
Yeah.
And then it was just a weird feeling, like after I had her, just seeing her healthy. And a lot of people say like, it was just like weight was lifted off my shoulders, and it was just easy. Like with Pierce, it was so stressful, so many tears, so much grieving. And with her, it was like, all right, we've got this. It was
right.
How that all came about. But
yeah. So what are they like as brother and sister?
Oh, well, I was like, oh, they're never going to fight. I don't know why I say never. As a mom, you should never use the words never. Like, okay, a boy and a girl, he's pretty chill, pretty level-headed. She's kind of sassy. They're going to get along. So I don't know. He steals her binky and her passy, or her binky and her blankie, and runs away, and she chases him crying. I mean, it's nuts. I think what's going to be harder down the road is like Ivy we haven't had therapy appointments, but I mean, Pierce has a lot of appointments, so we need to make sure we balance out like things for her too, and not just keeping the focus all on Down syndrome and that community. Like she needs her own thing to do too, because you hear that a lot. It's like, you can't just focus on one child. You kind of got to keep the balance. And that with all those kids, it's like, you got to have a good balance of everything, when sometimes, the therapy appointments can add up to be a lot. So just making sure that we're, like I said, treating them both equal and, disciplining them both when they need it. But they're fun. I mean, it's crazy, but I wouldn't change it for the world,
Yeah.
So,
so how has your kind of outlook on, on the gym and on the things that you do, like, what do you do differently now, maybe because you just know what you didn't know before?
For sure. No, I think I would stress. I think that I thought I had more control of my life than what I actually did. Right. I think that I thought, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And that's not how God lines your life up. You have passions, you have things that you enjoy, but other things can come into your life. And it's all about timing. I swear, like his timing is so crazy, but the things that he gives us and provides us with come into your life at times where you look back and you're like, oh, I knew that was supposed to happen for a reason, And so I think our biggest thing is just celebrating every day, and not huge celebrations. I know we all have our days where we're like, gosh, that was exciting. But it's just thinking about, like, I don't know, the garbage disposal thing broke, for instance. It's like we would get so mad about that, like, oh my gosh, that sucks, and blah, blah, blah. But now it's like, who cares? It's just a material thing that broke, and it is what it is, and it's just, it's made us more easygoing. I've already am a pretty easygoing person, and so it's made me even more easygoing, I think. But I think we all need that in our life sometimes. Like, I don't get so caught up in like what he needs to do. He needs to talk at this time. He needs to walk at this time. He needs to do this. Like, he will do that when he's ready. And I feel like this has helped me really trust God, because I'm like, I didn't understand what he was doing at first. I was almost mad at him. Like, why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to us? Yeah. But now when I look back, like, my life would look so different if it wasn't for Pierce, and all the negative ways. I think I'd be more of a negative person. And I don't know. It's just weird. It's a weird feeling, but I feel like we've just gotten more open to, what can happen in your life. And if something happens that might not be the best thing, that you're going to learn from it, and you're going to realize someday why it happened the way it did.
Yeah. So often we think that we want God to say, to show us like, okay, this is the 23rd step down the path. You know what I mean? But the truth of the matter is, we really are just have a hard enough time dealing with what's right in front of us. 100%. And so what's right in front of us is probably what we should focus on, and trust that by the time we get 23 steps down there, we'll be ready for it.
Yep.
Right?
So true. So true. Yes. Yeah. Lutheran Church of Hope has really been a blessing to us since we moved here. And, we didn't start right away, but since we've been there, it's amazing to see how big of an influence you guys have in the community and how many people love that place. So.
Yeah. Well, one thing I did want to mention too, that you guys always do is you always have a partner for the season with the gym. So there's always ways that you guys are looking out into the community and seeing how you can be a positive part of the community and make the community better, which is awesome. Did you start out that way from the very beginning, or
no,
was that
we didn't?
Okay.
No, we thought people wanted more. Like, I think there's a need out there for people to go and volunteer, but they don't know how or where to start or what they need to do. And so we were like, well, you know what? Athletes love to do things, outside of the community, or inside of the gym, and then outside, helping others, whatever that is. And so we were like, all right, which power partners would be good to work with based off of our season? So every 8 weeks, we switch up our seasons in the gym. So right now our focus is on strength. So we're really focusing on strength training. Next season, I don't know if you know this yet, but it's endurance.
Super!
We all need it. I always tell people, whatever you don't like to do, that's what you need the most help with. So take it as a blessing, and it's only for 8 weeks. Like, we got this for 8 weeks. So next season is endurance season, but so obviously we'll focus more on our endurance because our body needs that endurance. And so next season we're going to work with Susan G. Komen, actually, because they don't know if they're going to do their race or not. They've been an awesome power partner, and we love the October date because we get to all go walk in honor of someone with breast cancer and stuff. And so we love the organization. They are amazing. So we have a lot of cool things in the works with them still, being virtual and everything. But yeah, Special Olympics Iowa, we were supposed to work with them this season. We were going to go to their summer games and do their fitness assessment testing and stuff. And what I love about that is that our athletes can volunteer and they can sign up at the gym. So they don't need to go do research because people don't have time sometimes, or they quit at last because maybe it's not as much of a priority as taking their son or daughter to a doctor's appointment or something. And so, unfortunately that stuff comes last. And so, yeah, for all of our 6 seasons, we have power partners for those. And so, I would say Special Olympics Iowa, and then Habitat for Humanity. We went and built some houses last year, which was really cool. And then we worked at the Restore store, and then we worked with the firefighters, police officers, service people one season and stuff like that. So it's
awesome.
Really a lot of fun. So
yeah, I love it.
It's changing now, though. I mean, unfortunately, until all this stuff passes, it's not as, in person as we want it to be, but that's just life right now.
Well, Amber, thank you so much. This has been so much fun. Thank you for hanging out with me.
It's good seeing your face virtually.